And frankly, representative, I think you need to calm down just a bit here. The microphone picks up the soft thump as Chairman Vance leans back. Smug, settled, like he's just delivered the final word. Across the dais, Jasmine Crockett doesn't flinch. Doesn't react. Her eyes, steady behind her glasses, remain fixed on him. The air in the hearing room crackles. A few nervous coughs from the gallery. One staffer freezes mid-step behind the chairman. Calm down. The words hang there. Not advice, a dismissal. Vance smooths his tie, a small, self-satisfied smile playing on his lips. He looks left, then right, expecting agreement from his colleagues. He gets mostly averted gazes. A couple of tight-lipped nods from his side of the aisle. Crockett takes a slow breath, visible, audible if you were close enough. She adjusts the microphone slightly, a precise, deliberate movement. No trembling hands, no flush rising on her neck. Just stillness. The silence stretches, 5 seconds, 10. Long enough for Vance's smile to flicker. Long enough for the audience to lean forward collectively. What's she going to do? Is she going to yell, bang the table? He wants her to, he's baiting her. Everyone knows the script. Woman gets emotional, woman gets dismissed. Calm down. It's the oldest trick in the book. Crockett looks down at her papers for a beat. Then back up, direct eye contact, unwavering. Mr. Chairman. Her voice is low, even measured. Not calm exactly, controlled. Vance raises an eyebrow, affects surprise. Yes, representative. He's still playing the benevolent authority figure. The patient man dealing with an unruly, what, child, colleague. The subtext is thick enough to choke on. I need to understand the procedure here. Procedure, Vance leans forward again, regaining his footing. We're discussing the amendment, representative. As you know, we seem to be getting a bit sidetracked. His tone implies she is the one sidetracking. She ignores the implication. My understanding, Mr. Chairman, is that members are permitted to speak on the amendments before us. Is that correct? Of course, Vance sounds slightly impatient now, within the bounds of relevance and decorum, naturally. And is it within the bounds of decorum, Mr. Chairman? She pauses, lets the question hang. For the chair to comment on the emotional state of a member asking substantive questions. A gasp from the back row, soft but definite. Vance's smile disappears completely, replaced by a tight line. Representative, I merely suggested. Suggested, Crockett interrupts, but her voice doesn't rise. It cuts. That wasn't a suggestion, Mr. Chairman. That was an attempt to silence a point you didn't want to address. Now hold on just a minute. Vance bangs his gavel lightly. Order, Representative Crockett, your time is. My time is my own, Mr. Chairman, under the rules. 5 minutes, unless you're changing those rules now. She glances at the official timer, still 3 minutes left. He knows it, she knows it, everyone knows it. Vance's jaw tightens, he looks trapped. The audience is dead silent now, watching, waiting. He glances at his counsel, who offers a helpless shrug. Proceed, representative. He bites off the words, stick to the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Crockett gives a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. Now, regarding the specific language in Section 2. She doesn't look rattled, she looks focused. But something has shifted. The power dynamic, it just tilted. And Vance, behind his carefully neutral expression, looks like he just realized he stepped on a landmine. The air is different now, charged. He tried to put her in a box. She just handed him the lid. Crockett continues, laying out her argument against the amendment's wording. Her points are sharp, logical, cited. She speaks directly to the text, highlighting inconsistencies, potential loopholes. Vance listens, stony-faced. His posture is rigid. He keeps fiddling with a pen, tapping it, clicking it. Anxious energy radiating off him. He'd expected a flare-up, an easy dismissal. He got this surgical precision, unflappable logic. It's clearly unnerving him. She references a previous ruling, a precedent set by this very committee 5 years ago. Does the chairman recall that debate? Vance blinks, vaguely. I'd have to consult the record. He doesn't remember, or doesn't want to. Crockett nods slowly. I have the record right here, Mr. Chairman. Page 47, subsection C, it directly contradicts the premise of this current amendment. Would you like me to read it? Her offer hangs in the air, polite, lethal. No, that won't be necessary, Representative. Vance waves a dismissive hand. We can review it later. Let's stick to the current. The current amendment, Mr. Chairman, she cuts in smoothly, seems to ignore the committee's own established precedent. My question is why? Why are we disregarding our own findings from just a few years ago? Her question isn't accusatory. It's presented as a genuine inquiry. But the implication is clear, either incompetence or intent. Vance shifts in his seat. Representative, the circumstances are different now. The context has evolved. How so, Mr. Chairman? Can you elaborate on the specific contextual shifts that invalidate our previous unanimous finding? Unanimous, she landed that word deliberately. He was part of that unanimous decision. She knows it. He squirms. Well, the economic landscape, the regulatory environment, it's complex. His vagueness is telling. He's floundering. A low murmur ripples through the audience. People are picking up on it. The facade of confident authority is cracking. Crockett just waits, lets his non-answer hang there. The silence stretches again, not her silence this time, his. He avoids her gaze, looks down at his papers, shuffles them needlessly. Complex, Crockett repeats the word softly. It doesn't sound like agreement. It sounds like disappointment. Is the chairman suggesting complexity is a reason to abandon established legal and procedural guardrails? Now wait, I didn't say abandon, Vance snaps, his voice rising slightly. Ah, there it is, the first crack in his composure. He catches himself, lowers his voice. I simply mean we need to be adaptable, flexible. Flexible with precedent? Crockett raises an eyebrow. Flexible with the rules we all agreed upon. Representative, you're mischaracterizing my position. Vance sounds strained. He's losing control of the narrative. Am I? Crockett's voice is calm, almost gentle. Or am I highlighting the inconsistency between your words then and your actions now? And your earlier suggestion that I should calm down when raising these points? She brought it back, seamlessly, tied his procedural objections to his personal dismissal of her. The room is electric. You could hear a pin drop. Vance looks like he wants to slam the gavel, hard. But he knows how it will look. He knows the cameras are rolling. He's caught. He takes a deep breath, tries to regain control. Representative, your time has nearly expired. Please conclude your remarks. His voice is tight, forced. Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Crockett nods again. That slow, deliberate nod. I simply want the record to reflect that substantive questions about procedural integrity and committee precedent were met not with answers, but with attempts to police the tone of the questioner. Mic drop, delivered quietly. She doesn't smile, doesn't look triumphant. She just looks resolute. Vance stares straight ahead. His knuckles are white where he grips the edge of the dais. He doesn't respond, calls on the next speaker. But everyone in the room knows what just happened. He tried to play the man, she played the board. Check. The hearing moves on, but the temperature has changed. Every interaction involving Vance now feels weighted. Other members seem hesitant to jump in on his side. There are more careful glances towards Crockett. She sits listening intently to the next speaker, making notes. Completely composed, as if the earlier exchange was nothing extraordinary. But it hangs in the air, a residue of tension. Vance tries to regain his earlier rhythm, the confident interruptions, the guiding commentary. It falls flat, sounds forced, defensive. He asks a friendly question to an allied member, trying to build momentum back. The member gives a bland, non-committal answer, doesn't take the bait. Nobody wants to get caught in the crossfire. The audience is different too, quieter, more focused. Less shuffling, less whispering. They're watching Crockett as much as they're watching the speaker. Her stillness is magnetic. She occasionally glances up, makes eye contact with a colleague. A small, almost imperceptible exchange, a shared understanding. The power hasn't just shifted away from Vance, it's coalescing around her. Not because she's loud, because she's precise, because she refused to be dismissed. The memory surfaces, unbidden, law school mock trial. The opposing counsel, a smooth upperclassman, telling her she was being too aggressive in her cross-examination. The judge, an old professor with tired eyes, nodding slightly in agreement. She felt the heat rise then, the injustice of it, wanting to scream. Instead, she'd taken a breath, just like today. She asked, "Is my aggression measured by the volume of my voice or the effectiveness of my questions?" The professor had paused, looked at her properly for the first time. "Proceed, counselor." She won the case, but the memory of being tone policed stuck. It wasn't about her tone, it was about her threat. Just like today. Vance clears his throat loudly, interrupting the current speaker mid-sentence. "Apologies, Congressman, but I want to circle back to ensure we're all clear on the procedural framework here, given some earlier confusion." He glances pointedly at Crockett. She doesn't react, doesn't take the bait this time. She keeps her eyes on the speaker who was interrupted, a subtle show of support. Vance launches into a long-winded explanation of the rules, overly detailed, patronizing. It's aimed at Crockett, clearly, an attempt to reassert his authority, to paint her earlier questions as naive or uninformed. But it backfires. He sounds pedantic, defensive. He's spending valuable committee time lecturing on basic procedure, instead of debating the amendment. People start checking their phones, shifting impatiently. A staffer behind him discreetly tries to get his attention, pointing at the clock. He waves them off, continues his monologue. He thinks he's winning points, re-establishing dominance. He doesn't realize he's digging his own hole deeper. Crockett listens patiently, lets him talk. Lets him expose his insecurity, his fixation on the earlier exchange. When he finally finishes, breathless and slightly flushed, there's an awkward pause. The interrupted congressman looks unsure whether to resume. Crockett leans into her microphone. "Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that clarification." Her voice is neutral. "If I may, Congressman Davies, you were making a crucial point about the impact on small businesses." She redirects smoothly, politely. Puts the focus back on the substance. Makes Vance's lecture look like a petty diversion. Several members nod in agreement, relief flickering across their faces. Someone get this hearing back on track. Vance opens his mouth, closes it, sits back heavily in his chair. He looks deflated, outmaneuvered again. He tried to relitigate the previous fight. She refused to engage, treated it like the distraction it was. And in doing so, diminished him further. The quiet respect for her grows, the unease around him thickens. This isn't just a debate anymore. It's a masterclass in controlled dismantling. The amendment is complex, technical, dry. Normally, half the room would be tuned out by now, C-SPAN viewers switching channels. But today, everyone is locked in. Because the subtext is more interesting than the text. It become a duel of composure, a battle of wills played out in procedural nuances and loaded pauses. Vance tries a different tactic, charm, faux camaraderie. He makes a self-deprecating joke about the legislative process, gets a few weak chuckles. He compliments a point made by a member from Crockett's own party, trying to appear bipartisan, fair-minded. It feels calculated, inauthentic. Crockett doesn't buy it. Her expression remains neutral, focused on the policy. She asks another question, sharp, to the point, about unintended consequences. Vance fields it himself, instead of deferring to staff or the amendment's sponsor. He tries to sound reasonable, collaborative. Well, representative, that's a valid concern. We've thought about that. The language here in subsection E is designed to provide flexibility. Crockett waits for him to finish. Then, with respect, Mr. Chairman, flexibility in this context seems synonymous with ambiguity, and ambiguity favors those with the resources to exploit it. Is that the intention? Direct hit again, calmly delivered. Vance's smile tightens. Of course not, representative. We trust the implementing agencies to interpret this reasonably. Trust, Crockett lets the word hang, based on their expertise, their track record. Vance sounds defensive again. Crockett slowly shakes her head, a tiny movement but full of meaning. Their track record, Mr. Chairman, particularly regarding the communities most affected by this legislation, has not always inspired confidence. Precedent, which we discussed earlier, shows a pattern of interpretation that disadvantages the vulnerable. This flexibility you mention looks like another open door for that pattern to continue. She connects the dots, policy, precedent, people. She's not just debating words on a page, she's debating the real-world impact. And she's implicitly accusing him and the amendment's supporters of ignoring that impact, or worse, enabling it. The air is thick with unspoken accusation. Vance looks flustered. He glances towards his allies for support. One jumps in. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think the representative is perhaps being overly pessimistic. This is standard legislative language. Pessimistic, Crockett turns her gaze to the intervening member. Or realistic, Congressman, based on documented history. Are we obligated to ignore history in favor of optimism when crafting binding legislation? The congressman backpedals. No, of course not, but context, intent. Crockett lets him trail off, doesn't interrupt, doesn't need to. Her point is made. She's framed the debate, practicality versus wishful thinking, history versus hope. And she's positioned Vance and his allies on the side of ignoring the past, ignoring the risks. Vance bangs the gavel, louder this time. Let's maintain focus on the text, people. We're getting into hypotheticals. Hypotheticals based on precedent, Mr. Chairman, Crockett asks quietly. He glares at her, doesn't answer, calls on the next person on his list. It's a retreat, a tactical withdrawal masked as procedural control. But everyone sees it. He's avoiding the substance of her argument because he can't refute it. He's avoiding her gaze because he can't match her composure. The power differential is stark now, palpable. He holds the gavel, but she holds the room. Her phone, face down on the dais, buzzes silently, once, twice. Someone outside this room is watching, noticing. The ripples are starting. The clock ticks towards the end of the session. Fatigue sets in for most, shoulders slump, yawns are stifled. But Vance seems wired, tense, still trying to land a blow. He keeps circling back to procedure, minor points of order. Trying to catch Crockett off guard, trip her up. She remains meticulous, cites the rule book calmly, corrects him gently when he misstates a clause. Each correction is a small embarrassment for him, amplified by the charged atmosphere. He asks her to repeat a point she made earlier, claiming he didn't quite catch it. It's a passive-aggressive move, implying she was unclear, wasting time. Crockett obliges, repeats her point verbatim, even slower this time, more deliberate. Making it clear she knows exactly what he's doing. And making him look foolish for asking. The audience catches on, a few stifled snickers from the back, quickly suppressed. But Vance hears them, a flush creeps up his neck. He's losing the room completely, even the appearance of control. He tries to cut off her time again, claiming she's being repetitive. Mr. Chairman, Crockett's voice drops slightly, becomes steel. I yielded back 30 seconds earlier when Congressman Davies needed clarification. The clock shows I have 1 minute and 12 seconds remaining. Are you unilaterally altering the time allocation again? Again, the word hangs there, accusatory. Vance sputters, no, I just the relevance. The relevance is to the amendment directly before us. Crockett doesn't yield the floor. Unless the chairman wishes to rule my points non-relevant, in which case I will appeal the ruling of the chair. She lays down the gauntlet, procedurally correct, confident. She knows the rules better than he does. Or at least, she's better at using them under pressure. Appealing the ruling of the chair is a significant move, a direct challenge to his authority. He knows he'll likely lose the appeal. It would be embarrassing, prolong the hearing. He stares at her, a look of pure frustration, maybe hatred. It's raw, unmasked for a split second. Then the facade snaps back into place. Proceed, Representative, finish your point. His voice is clipped, devoid of warmth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. She uses her remaining minute precisely, summarizes her core objection, links it back to the precedent he tried to dismiss, ends with a clear statement of opposition. No wasted words, no emotional appeals, just cold, hard logic. When her time expires, she simply says, I yield back, sits down, takes a sip of water. The contrast between her calm and his barely concealed agitation is stark. He looks exhausted, angry, humiliated. He pushed, she held her ground. He escalated, she de-escalated, using his own rules against him. He tried to make it personal. She kept it professional, which made it devastatingly personal for him. The hearing limps towards its conclusion. The vote on the amendment is almost an afterthought. The real event was the exchange, the quiet takedown. As the gavel finally falls to adjourn, a strange quiet descends. Not relief, tension, uncomfortable awareness. Members gather their papers, avoiding eye contact with Vance. A few murmur brief acknowledgments to Crockett as they file out, respectful, wary. Vance remains seated for a moment, staring at the empty chair opposite him. He looks smaller somehow, diminished. The power he wielded so confidently at the start of the session seems to have evaporated, leaving behind only the title, the gavel, empty symbols. Crockett packs her briefcase methodically, doesn't rush, doesn't linger. As she walks out, a reporter tries to ask a question. Representative Crockett, your reaction to the chairman's comments. She offers a brief, neutral smile. I think the record speaks for itself. And walks away, leaving the silence to answer. The real noise is about to start, online. The C-SPAN clip hits Twitter within minutes. Not the whole exchange, just the juicy part. Vance, frankly, Representative, I think you need to calm down just a bit here. Cut to Crockett's still face, the long pause. Her measured response about decorum. Maybe 45 seconds total, brutal, effective. It lands like a bomb. Calm down starts trending, alongside Crockett, committee hearing. Initial reactions are visceral, outrage, disbelief. Did he really just tell her to calm down? The absolute audacity, the misogyny. Classic move when you can't win the argument. Then come the defenders, or the minimizers. She was getting emotional, she wasn't. He has a right to control his committee. Everyone is too sensitive these days. The battle lines are drawn instantly. Online warriors suit up. Screenshots circulate, memes are born. Vance's tight smile becomes a reaction image, captioned, the face of fragile authority. Crockett's calm stare becomes a symbol, captioned, unbothered, focused, lethal. Political commentators weigh in. Pundits on cable news dissect the clip endlessly. Some focus on the policy debate, trying to add context. They are largely ignored. Most focus on the dynamic, the optics, the power play. A masterclass in handling condescension. Vance stepped right into it, a total own goal. This is why women hesitate to speak up. She didn't raise her voice, she raised her game. Think pieces start appearing, blogs, op-eds. The incident becomes a Rorschach test for views on gender, race, power, politics. Was it sexism? Was it racism? Was it just procedural friction, or all of the above? The nuance gets lost in the viral storm. It becomes simpler, sharper. He told her to calm down, she didn't, and she won. Inside Vance's office, the phones are ringing off the hook. His communications director looks pale, scrolling through Twitter with a sinking feeling. They try to craft a statement, something about mutual respect, rigorous debate taken out of context. It sounds weak, defensive, too late. The narrative is already set, written by Crockett's composure and Vance's blunder, amplified by the internet. Crockett's office is also buzzing, but differently. Calls of support, emails flooding in, people sharing their own calm-down stories. Her staff fields media requests, tries to keep the focus on the legislative substance. But the moment has transcended the amendment. It's become cultural shorthand. A TikToker duets the C-SPAN clip, playing both parts, exaggerating Vance's smirk, mimicking Crockett's slow blink, adding dramatic music. It gets 1 million views in an hour. Another user posts a video, "Things not to say to a black woman in power, Exhibit A." The clip is sliced, diced, remixed, shared on Instagram stories, debated in Facebook groups, analyzed on podcasts. It enters the bloodstream of the internet, fast, fierce. The story isn't just about a committee hearing anymore. It's about every woman who's been told she's too much. Every person of color who's had their tone policed. Every time someone in power tried to shut down dissent with condescension instead of facts. Crockett herself remains largely silent, issues a brief written statement reiterating her policy concerns, thanks people for their support. She doesn't need to say more. Her silence, her composure in the moment speaks volumes. Vance, meanwhile, is pressured into a TV interview to clear the air. He looks uncomfortable under the studio lights, repeats his talking points about context, misunderstanding. He says he has great respect for Representative Crockett. It doesn't land. His body language betrays him, stiff, defensive. The interviewer presses him. "But why use those specific words, Chairman? Calm down." He falters, gives a rambling answer about heated debate, passion. He digs the hole deeper. The internet watches, judges, and delivers its verdict. Guilty of arrogance, of bias, of losing control. The ripple effect is just beginning. Days later, the dust hasn't settled, it's swirling. The calm down incident has become a recurring segment on late-night talk shows. Comedians roast Vance mercilessly, replay the clip with laugh tracks. Skits depict exaggerated versions of the hearing. Crockett is portrayed as a stoic superhero, Vance as a bumbling villain. It's caricature, but it sticks, shapes public perception. Morning shows discuss the viral moment, bring on experts to analyze the body language, the power dynamics. Notice how she never breaks eye contact. He grips the gavel like a lifeline. The shift in the audience energy is palpable. The actual legislative amendment they were debating, completely forgotten, irrelevant to the story now. This is the story, the calm versus the storm, the steel versus the bluster. Vance tries to regain normalcy, chairs another hearing. But the atmosphere is irrevocably changed. Cameras zoom in on his face constantly, waiting for another crack. Members are cautious around him, overly polite, distant. His authority feels hollowed out, performative. He knows he's being watched, judged, not just by those in the room, but by the unseen millions online. It affects his demeanor, makes him hesitant, second-guesses his instincts. He avoids any direct confrontation, sticks strictly to the script, rushes through proceedings. The swagger is gone, replaced by a kind of brittle caution. Crockett, meanwhile, attends the same hearing. She acts as if nothing happened, asks her questions, makes her points. Focused, professional, business as usual. But her presence is amplified. When she speaks, everyone listens intently. Colleagues who might have previously dismissed her now lean in, quote her approvingly. She hasn't changed her style. The perception of her style has changed. Her quiet intensity is no longer seen as lack of passion. It's seen as strength, control, strategic brilliance. The calm down comment inadvertently became a spotlight, illuminating qualities that were already there. A flashback sharper this time, her grandmother. A woman who faced down landlords, bosses, bureaucrats who tried to diminish her, never by shouting. Always with a quiet word, a steady gaze, an unshakable dignity. "Don't let them steal your peace, child," she'd said. "Your peace is your power. Let them wear themselves out against it." Jasmine understood it then. She understands it now. Vance tried to steal her peace, tried to provoke a reaction he could use against her. She held on to it, and it became her shield and her weapon. Her office continues to be inundated, not just support but requests. Invitations to speak, interviews, demands for her to run for higher office. People project their hopes onto her, see her as the antidote to the bluster and bullying that often dominates politics. She handles it carefully, stays focused on her work, her district, the issues. She knows how quickly viral fame can curdle, how easily narratives can flip. But the impact is undeniable. She has momentum, influence beyond her official position. Articles appear analyzing the Crockett effect, how quiet competence can disrupt old power structures. Universities invite her to talk about navigating hostile environments. Women's groups want her as a keynote speaker. The single exchange has become a catalyst, a symbol. Vance, on the other hand, faces increasing pressure within his own party. Whispers about his leadership, his effectiveness, his electability. He looks weak. He let her walk all over him. Cost us points with suburban women. The incident exposed a vulnerability, and in politics, vulnerability attracts predators. His allies start to distance themselves subtly. Fewer joint press conferences, more scheduling conflicts. The chill is palpable. He lashed out, tried to assert dominance. And in doing so, he triggered his own political diminishment. The irony is bitter. He tastes it every time he sees her name in a headline, hears her voice on the news. He tried to make her smaller. He ended up amplifying her and shrinking himself. The moment arrives, unexpectedly, weeks later. Different hearing, different topic, unrelated legislation. Vance is presiding, seems to have regained some superficial composure, back to his old rhythm, cutting off speakers, making pointed remarks. He thinks enough time has passed, the storm has blown over. He's wrong, the undercurrent is still there, waiting. Crockett is questioning a witness, methodically, precisely, uncovering inconsistencies in their testimony, cornering them politely. The witness is getting flustered, stumbling over answers, looking to Vance for help. Vance intervenes, tries to rescue the witness. "Representative Crockett, I think the witness has answered the question. Perhaps we should move on. Let's not badger the witness." Badger Crockett turns her head slowly towards Vance, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Chairman, I am asking clarifying questions based on the witness's own submitted testimony. Pointing out contradictions is not badgering. It is oversight. Is the chairman suggesting we should avoid thorough oversight?" Here we go again, the room tenses, déjà vu. Vance sighs theatrically. "Representative, we have limited time. Your line of questioning seems argumentative, designed to provoke rather than illuminate." He's projecting, accusing her of his own tactics. Crockett pauses, looks down at her notes, then back at him. Her voice is quiet, so quiet everyone leans in. "Mr. Chairman." "Yes, Representative." He sounds weary, impatient, braced for another procedural fight. She doesn't give him one. She gives him something worse, truth delivered without heat. With all due respect, Mr. Chairman. She pauses again, locks eyes with him, holds the gaze. You seem to have a pattern. Silence, absolute, pin-drop silence. Not just in the room. It feels like the C-SPAN feed freezes, like the internet holds its collective breath. Vance stares back, his face drains of color. A pattern, what are you implying, representative? His voice is dangerously low. Crockett doesn't elaborate, doesn't need to. Everyone knows the pattern she means, interrupting her, questioning her tone, dismissing her points, trying to control her. The calm-down incident echoes in the silence. Her statement hangs there, devastating in its simplicity, its undeniable accuracy. It's not an accusation of bias. It's an observation of behavior, undisputable, documented, viral. A pattern. Vance opens his mouth, closes it, no rebuttal comes. What can he say? Deny it. The world saw the first instance. They're seeing this one. He looks around the room, sees the faces, knows they see it too. His colleagues avoid his eyes, stare intently at their papers, doodle on notepads. The witness sits frozen, forgotten. The power dynamic snaps into its final, irreversible position. He has the gavel, she has the truth. His authority, already weakened, crumbles under the weight of that quiet observation. He looks utterly exposed, defeated, not by volume, not by anger, by calm, surgical precision. A quiet cough from the audience breaks the spell. Vance clears his throat, a dry, rasping sound. Your time, representative, has expired. He forces the words out. Crockett gives a slight nod, doesn't reclaim the final second, doesn't need to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. She turns back to her papers, as if nothing monumental just occurred. But it did, he knows it, everyone knows it. She didn't just win the exchange, she defined him. Not as a powerful chairman, but as a man with a pattern. And that label, delivered so quietly, will follow him long after the cameras stop rolling. The hearing continues, but it's over. The real business is finished. Checkmate. The aftermath in the room is thick with unspoken things. Vance moves through the rest of the agenda mechanically, his voice flat, energy gone. He avoids looking in Crockett's direction, addresses the empty space in front of him. Other members speak briefly, stick to safe topics. No one wants to rock the boat further. The tension hasn't dissipated. It's solidified into a kind of awkward deference towards Crockett and a wide berth around Vance. When the hearing adjourns, the departure is swift, efficient. People escape the charged atmosphere as quickly as possible. No casual chatter, no lingering conversations. Vance gathers his papers with trembling hands. A staffer leans in, whispers something. He shakes his head curtly, stalks out through a side door, avoiding the main corridor, avoiding the press, avoiding eye contact. Crockett packs her bag with the same deliberate calm she displayed throughout. A few colleagues approach her, quiet words of acknowledgement. Well handled, Jasmine. Impressive. Stay strong. She accepts their comments with a polite nod. A brief, genuine smile, doesn't engage in post-mortem analysis, doesn't gloat. Her demeanor remains unchanged, consistent, professional. As she walks out, the same reporter from weeks ago is waiting, hopeful. Representative Crockett, any comment on the chairman's pattern? She pauses briefly, considers the question. Looks directly at the camera. I believe my record and the chairman's record are clear. The public can review them and draw their own conclusions. My focus remains on the work the people sent me here to do. No attack, no interpretation, just an invitation to look at the facts. Confidence in the evidence, confidence in the public's perception. She turns and walks away, leaving the implications hanging, powerful, resonant. Back in her office, the phone is already ringing. It's different this time. Not just supporters, not just media. Party leadership, senior colleagues, people with influence. They saw what happened. They understand the shift. Doors that were previously closed might start to open. Opportunities might arise. Respect, earned under fire, begins to translate into tangible political capital. She takes the calls, listens more than she talks, remains grounded. Remembers her grandmother's advice. Peace is power, doesn't mean you don't fight, means you choose the terrain, choose the weapons. She chose composure, chose precision, chose the public record. Vance, meanwhile, is likely in damage control mode, huddled with advisors, trying to spin the unspinnable. How do you recover when your weakness has been so publicly, so calmly exposed? How do you lead when your pattern is the defining narrative? The quiet respect Crockett commands now feels permanent, solidified. It's not just about winning an argument, it's about demonstrating a different kind of strength. A strength that doesn't need volume to be heard, doesn't need aggression to be effective. The hearing room is empty now, the lights are dimmed. But the echoes of the exchange remain, the quiet observation, the shattering silence. A pattern. Two words delivered softly changed everything. The uncomfortable respect settles, not just for her skill, but for her discipline, her refusal to be baited, her mastery of the moment. Victory doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's a quiet nod as you walk away, leaving the truth to do its work. The second clip goes even more viral than the first. A pattern trends instantly, higher, faster. The context of the previous, calm-down incident provides the perfect setup. This isn't just a moment. It's the climax of a narrative the internet has been following for weeks. TikToks explode, side-by-side comparisons of the two moments, Vance's increasing agitation versus Crockett's unwavering calm. Audio from Crockett's line, "You seem to have a pattern," becomes a viral sound, used over videos of bosses, ex-partners, annoying neighbors. Cultural shorthand for calling out repeated bad behavior. News outlets run headlines. Crockett confronts Chairman Vance again. "You have a pattern." The quiet takedown, how Jasmine Crockett mastered the political stage. Vance faces leadership questions after second viral clash. Pundits declare it a definitive win for Crockett, a major blow to Vance. He never recovered from the calm-down comment, and she knew it. She waited, picked her moment, devastating precision. This is how you handle bullies, not with noise, but with facts and composure. Even some conservative commentators grudgingly acknowledge Crockett's skill. Don't agree with her politics, but you have to respect the strategic execution. Vance walked into that one twice. The narrative solidifies. Crockett as the poised strategist, Vance as the crumbling authority figure undone by his own condescension. His attempts at damage control are futile. A leaked internal memo advising him to show more humility only fuels the fire, makes him look managed, weak. Calls for him to step down from the chairmanship begin to surface, first as whispers, then more openly, from activists, from editorial boards, even from a few brave members of his own caucus. The pattern comment became the kill shot, delivered softly but landing with the force of a cannonball. Crockett continues her work, gives interviews focused on policy, on her constituents' needs. When asked about the confrontation, she pivots, uses the platform to talk about the issues they were supposed to be debating, subtly reinforcing the idea that he was the distraction. His behavior was the obstacle to getting things done. It's incredibly effective, makes her look serious, focused, above the fray even as she dominated it. Months later, the impact lingers. Vance retains his chairmanship but diminished. A cautionary tale whispered in the halls of Congress. His influence wanes, his future prospects dim. Crockett's star continues to rise. She's seen as a leader, calm under pressure, strategic, principled. Her fundraising numbers surge. Her national profile grows. The story becomes a case study in political communication, in gender dynamics, in the power of restraint. People don't just remember the clash, they remember how she handled it. The slow blink, the steady gaze, the precise language, the refusal to be ruffled. The quiet dominance that left her opponent speechless, twice. The online eruption didn't create her victory. It amplified it, reflected it, cemented it in the public consciousness. The final scene isn't a celebration. It's just the quiet hum of work continuing. Crockett sits at her desk, reviewing legislation, preparing for the next hearing. The memory of the confrontations isn't a source of triumph. It's data, experience logged, lessons absorbed. Her grandmother's voice echoes faintly, "Your peace is your power." She held onto her peace, and the power followed. No victory lap needed. The resonance speaks for itself. The pattern was broken. The point was made. The work goes on. Scene end.